Top 20 Ugliest Hollywood Celebrities You Don't Want to Miss.
And he fucked Queen Elizabeth.
Hollywood
whoever.
has always judged faces before talent. Some stars were mocked for unusual features, aging medical conditions, surgery, or simply not fitting the polished image people expected. But behind every cruel label is a real career, a real story, and a reason audiences never stopped watching. Subscribe to Classic Hollywood Legends. Richard Keel. Richard Keel did not look like the usual Hollywood actor, and that became both his advantage and his burden. At more than 7 feet tall, he was often cast before he even spoke. Directors saw his size first, then built characters around it. His most famous role was Jaws in the James Bond films, The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker. With his height-heavy presence and metal teeth, Keel became one of the most recognizable villains in Bond history. But the same look that made him famous also made him a target for jokes and cruel comments. What happens when the thing people mock is also the thing Hollywood keeps paying you for? Keel's appearance was connected to acromegaly, a medical condition that affected his growth. But he never let himself become just a big, scary guy on screen. He later showed a warmer and funnier side in films like Happy Gilmore, proving he could do more than intimidate people. Richard Keel was judged for how he looked, but he turned that judgment into a career. Hollywood may have used his appearance first, but audiences remembered the man behind it. Jackie Stallone. Jackie Stallone was best known to many people as Sylvester Stallone's mother, but she also built her own public image as an astrologer, promoter, dancer, and television personality. She was loud, confident, and never seemed afraid of attention. But in her later years, the attention often turned cruel. People focused less on her personality and more on her changed appearance after cosmetic procedures. Jackie herself admitted she had gone too far, once joking that her face looked like she had a mouthful of walnuts. That honesty made her different from many celebrities who tried to deny the obvious. How much pressure does Hollywood create when even aging naturally starts to feel like failure? Jackie's look became a talking point in tabloids and entertainment shows. Some mocked her lips, cheeks, and facial changes. But behind that was a bigger issue. She was living in a culture that keeps telling women to stay young, then attacks them when they try. Jackie Stallone died in 2020 at 98. Her story is not just about plastic surgery. It is about a woman who became part of the same beauty system that later turned her into a punchline. Carrot Top. Carrot Top, whose real name is Scott Thompson, built his career on prop comedy Wild Energy and a stage style nobody could confuse with anyone else. With his bright red hair, intense expressions, and physical comedy, he became one of the most recognizable comedians in America. But over time, people stopped talking only about his jokes. They started focusing on his face body and changing appearance. Rumors about cosmetic work followed him for years, and critics used his look as an easy target. Instead of judging the act, many judged the man before he even opened his mouth. How does a comedian keep performing when the audience is laughing at him before he tells the first joke? Carrot Top has pushed through that criticism by staying on stage and turning his unusual image into part of the brand. Some people mock him, but they still remember him. That matters in comedy, where being forgettable can be worse than being criticized. His story is not about fitting Hollywood's idea of handsome. It is about surviving a business where people can turn your face into a punchline, then still expect you to make them laugh. Ayako Imoto. Ayako Imoto is a Japanese comedian and television personality who built her fame by looking different from the polished celebrities around her. She is known for her bold eyebrows, messy travel show image, and a style that does not try to look glamorous. That became part of her comedy. But because of that image, Imoto has also faced harsh comments about her appearance. Some viewers judged her before listening to the joke. Others treated her look as something strange, even though it was clearly connected to the character she created for television. What happens when a performer uses her appearance as comedy but the public starts attacking the real person behind it. Imoto's case is different from many Hollywood stories because she did not become famous by chasing beauty standards. She became known by refusing them. Her style made her stand out, and in entertainment, being memorable can be more powerful than being perfect. The criticism around Ayako Imoto says more about the audience than about her. She turned an unusual image into a career while many people watching still could not separate a comedy persona from a woman doing her job. Pete Burns. Pete Burns was the lead singer of Dead or Alive, the band behind the 1980s hit You Spin Me Round. He had a bold voice, a sharp image, and a look that made people stop and stare before he even started singing. But later in life, the attention around him shifted from music to his changing face. Burns openly talked about having many cosmetic procedures. At first, it was part of building an image. He wanted to look different, dramatic, and unforgettable. But over time, the surgeries became the main thing people discussed, and the results brought him serious health problems. What happens when a performer becomes more famous for changing his face than for the music that made him known? The public reaction was often cruel. Some people treated him like a joke, but Burns was not just chasing attention. He was dealing with identity pressure, insecurity, and the need to control how the world saw him. Pete Burns died in 2016 at 57. His later years were messy, but reducing him to his appearance misses the point. Before the headlines about surgery, he was a real pop figure, with a voice, a hit record, and an image he created on his own terms. Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler became famous as the wild frontman of Aerosmith, with the voice, the scarves, the stage moves, and the attitude that made him one of rock's most recognizable singers. For decades, he was not selling a clean Hollywood image. He was selling chaos energy and rock and roll excess. But as Tyler got older, the public started paying more attention to his face than his music. His sharp features, wide mouth, aging skin, and changed appearance became easy targets for jokes. Some people speculated about cosmetic work, while others mocked the way years of touring addiction battles and celebrity life had marked him. Why do people celebrate a rock star's wild life, then attack him when that life shows on his face? Tyler never looked like a polished movie star, and that was part of his appeal. He looked loud, strange, and unpredictable, exactly like the music he performed. The problem came when people wanted the legend, but not the aging man behind it. Steven Tyler kept performing long after the jokes started. The face changed, the headlines changed, but the voice and stage presence were still what made people look twice. Verne Troyer. Verne Troyer became famous worldwide as Mini-Me in the Austin Powers films. At only 2 feet 8 inches tall, he was one of the shortest actors in Hollywood, and his size made him instantly recognizable. But it also meant people often saw the condition before they saw the performer. Troyer had cartilage hair hypoplasia, a rare form of dwarfism. In Hollywood, that kind of difference can open doors, but it can also trap an actor in one narrow image. Many roles focused on his height more than his acting, turning him into a visual joke before he was given real character depth. How does a man prove his talent when the industry keeps reducing him to his body? Even with those limits, Troyer built a career people still remember. His role as Mini-Me became part of pop culture, not because he was small, but because he understood timing, expression, and physical comedy. Behind the laughs, though, his life was not easy. He faced health issues, public pressure, and personal struggles while living under constant attention. Verne Troyer's story is uncomfortable because Hollywood celebrated his difference, but rarely let him escape it. He made people laugh, yet the industry often forgot there was a full person behind the role. Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg built a career that most entertainers never come close to. She became a comedian, actress, author, talk show host, and one of the few performers to win an EGOT. But even with that level of success, people still found ways to focus on her appearance. One detail that has followed her for years is her lack of eyebrows. Whoopi has explained that her mother removed them when she was young because of a skin issue, and she simply got used to seeing her face that way. What sounds like a small thing became something people kept pointing out, especially once she was on television every day. Why do people ignore a lifetime of talent just to focus on one unusual feature? Goldberg never seemed interested in changing herself just to make critics comfortable. She did not build her image around glamour, softness, or Hollywood perfection. She built it around voice, humor, intelligence, and presence. That is why the criticism never erased her. People could joke about her eyebrows, her style, or her face, but they still had to deal with the work. Whoopi stayed visible because she had something stronger than a polished look. She had authority every time she spoke. Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho did not have the polished look people expect from a global sports star. His wide smile, uneven teeth, and relaxed appearance made him an easy target for jokes. But the moment he touched the ball, the conversation changed. The Brazilian legend played football like he was having fun in a street game, even when the whole world was watching. His dribbling tricks, passes, and free kicks made defenders look lost. He helped Brazil win the 2002 World Cup, won the Ballon d'Or, and became one of Barcelona's most loved players. How do you mock a man's face when his talent made stadiums stand up? What made Ronaldinho powerful was that he never looked uncomfortable being himself. He smiled through pressure, played with freedom, and turned the same face people joked about into part of his charm. By the time his peak years were over, fans were not remembering him for perfect looks. They remembered the joy, the skill, and the feeling that anything could happen when he had the ball. Ronaldinho did not need Hollywood beauty. He had something stronger. People could not stop watching him. Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop did not enter rock music looking polished. He looked thin, rough, restless, and hard to place. For some people, that made him strange to watch. For others, it made him impossible to ignore. As the frontman of the Stooges, Iggy helped shape the sound and attitude of punk rock before the mainstream fully understood it. He did not perform like a clean celebrity. He moved like someone trying to break the distance between the stage and the crowd. That made his appearance part of the act, whether critics liked it or not. Why do some performers become more powerful when they stop trying to look acceptable? People called him ugly, wild, and disturbing. But Iggy used that reaction. The face, the body, the stare, the chaos. It all worked because it felt real. He was not selling beauty. He was selling discomfort, noise, and freedom. By the time other artists tried to copy that raw image, Iggy had already made it his own. He did not need to look perfect. He only needed people to keep watching. Shane MacGowan. Shane MacGowan, the lead singer of the Pogues, did not look like a clean pop star, and he never tried to. His face, damaged teeth, rough voice, and heavy drinking image became part of how people talked about him almost as much as the music. But reducing Shane to his appearance misses why people listened in the first place. He wrote songs that sounded drunk, sad, funny, Irish, angry, and alive all at once. Fairy Tale of New York alone gave him a place in music history that no cruel comment about his looks could erase. How does a man get mocked for the damage on his face, while millions still sing the words that came from that same pain? MacGowan's years of alcohol and drug use affected his health speech and public image. His teeth became a famous part of the story, especially before he later had major dental work. To tabloids, it was easy material. To fans, it was part of a larger picture, a gifted writer living hard and paying for it publicly. Shane MacGowan was never polished. That was the point. The roughness people mocked was also tied to the voice, the songs, and the life behind them. Sandra Bernhard. Sandra Bernhard came up in comedy at a time when women were often expected to be pretty first and funny second. She did not play that game quietly. Her delivery was dry, her face was sharp, and her jokes often sounded like they were testing how much the audience could handle. That made her stand out, but it also made her an easy target. People talked about her looks, her teeth, her style, and the way she carried herself sometimes before they talked about the work. Bernhard understood that, so she used it. She joked about her own appearance before critics could turn it into a weapon. Why does confidence bother people more when it comes from a woman who refuses to soften herself? Her career moved through stand-up film music and television, but the reaction around her always had the same edge. Some people admired her honesty. Others called her strange or harsh. Bernhard did not need to be the most polished woman in the room. She knew how to make discomfort work for her, and that is why people kept watching. Marty Feldman. Marty Feldman was best known for playing Igor in Young Frankenstein. But long before that role, his eyes had already become the first thing people noticed. The British comedian and writer had a condition that made his eyes protrude, and Hollywood turned that unusual look into part of his screen identity. Some people mocked him for it. Others only saw the strange face and missed how sharp his comedy actually was. Feldman was not just standing there to look odd. He knew timing, expression, and silence. He could make a scene work with one stare before the dialogue even started. How many actors get judged by one feature before people even notice the skill behind it? In Young Frankenstein, that look became part of the joke, but the performance worked because Feldman controlled it. He made Igor strange, funny, and memorable without turning the character into a cheap gag. His appearance got him attention, but his control kept him working. Marty Feldman understood the joke people made about him, then made it better than they could. Clint Howard. Clint Howard has been working in Hollywood for decades, but he was rarely treated like the kind of actor built for glamour shots or romantic leads. His small eyes, thinning hair, and uneven features made him easy for people to judge before they looked at the amount of work he had actually done. Because of that look, Howard was often cast as odd, creepy, awkward, or strange characters. He appeared in films and shows like Apollo 13: The Waterboy, and many projects connected to his brother Ron Howard. Some viewers remembered the face first, but directors kept hiring him because he could make small roles stand out. How many actors get dismissed for their appearance even while they keep working more than the people mocking them? Howard understood his place in the business. He was not chasing the image of a leading man. He built a career by being useful, memorable, and willing to take the kinds of roles other actors might avoid. Clint Howard may have been an easy target for jokes, but his long career says something different. In Hollywood, looking unusual can close some doors, but it can also make people remember you. DJ Qualls. DJ Qualls became familiar to audiences through roles in Road Trip: The New Guy, and later Supernatural. He was tall, very thin, and had a face people remembered quickly. That helped him stand out, but it also made his appearance an easy target for jokes. Part of his look came from something much more serious than people realized. Qualls battled Hodgkin's lymphoma as a teenager, and the illness affected his body during the years when most people are still growing into themselves. Hollywood later turned that unusual frame into a casting type: awkward, nervous, strange, or socially out of place. How many actors are treated like a punchline before people learn what they actually survived? Qualls used those roles instead of running from them. He leaned into characters who looked uncomfortable in the room, but he gave them timing and personality. That is why he kept getting work long after people first noticed his body. The harsh comments around DJ Qualls often missed the bigger picture. His appearance was not a gimmick he invented for attention. It came with a real medical history, and he still turned it into a career that many more perfect-looking actors never reach. Jocelyn Wildenstein. The nickname Catwoman followed Jocelyn Wildenstein for decades. Before people talked about her life, her marriage, or her money, they talked about her face. That was how the media packaged her, not as a person, but as a before and after headline. She was a Swiss socialite who became widely known during her public divorce from art dealer Ayako Wildenstein in the late 1990s. After that, the stories around her appearance only grew bigger. Tabloids claimed she had gone through extreme cosmetic procedures, while Jocelyn often pushed back against parts of that image. How does someone live normally when every photo becomes a public judgment? The cruel part is that people kept treating her appearance like entertainment. Her name was used in jokes, plastic surgery warnings, and gossip stories, while the real woman behind the nickname became harder to see. Jocelyn Wildenstein died in Paris on December 31st, 2024, at 84. By then, her face had been discussed for so long that many people forgot there was a full life behind it. A marriage, a divorce, money, isolation, and years of being turned into a spectacle. Michael Jackson. By the late 1980s, Michael Jackson's face had become almost as talked about as his music. That says a lot because this was the same man who gave the world thriller The Moonwalk and some of the biggest pop performances ever recorded. The changes in his appearance did not happen all at once. His skin tone changed. His facial features looked different, and the media kept asking questions. Jackson said he had vitiligo, a skin condition that caused loss of pigment, but that did not stop years of jokes, rumors, and harsh public judgment. Cosmetic surgery speculation followed him everywhere. How does a man stay normal when the whole world treats his face like an investigation? For fans, Michael was still the king of pop. For tabloids, every photo became evidence of something. That pressure followed him from interviews to courtrooms to late-night jokes. The more his image changed, the less people seemed to talk about the human being inside it. Michael Jackson's appearance became part of his legend, but also part of his pain. The music made him untouchable. The public attention made him trapped. Marilyn Manson. Brian Hugh Warner built Marilyn Manson as a stage character meant to look disturbing. The pale makeup, dark clothes, strange contact lenses, and harsh facial style were not random. They were part of the image he used to sell shock rock in the 1990s. At the height of his fame, people argued about him constantly. Parents hated him, teenagers followed him, and the media treated him like a symbol of everything dangerous in youth culture. His appearance became part of that reaction. Some called him ugly, others called him scary, but he clearly understood how useful that attention could be. How much of his fame came from the music, and how much came from making people uncomfortable? Manson did not chase the clean rock star look. He leaned into the opposite, cold, pale, unnatural, and hard to ignore. That made him easy to criticize, but also easy to market. The strange image helped build the career. Every complaint, every headline, and every moral panic made Marilyn Manson harder to avoid. Michael Berryman. Michael Berryman is best known for playing Pluto in Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes. Horror fans remembered him immediately because his appearance looked unlike anyone else on screen. His look came from hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia, a rare genetic condition that affects hair, teeth, skin, and sweat glands. Hollywood noticed the face first. That meant Berryman was often cast as frightening, strange, or disturbing characters in horror that helped him get work. But it also meant people often talked about his condition more than his acting. How hard is it to build a career when casting directors see your medical condition before they see your talent? Berryman did not disappear after one famous role. He kept working in cult films, horror movies, and television, including projects like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Weird Science, and The Devil's Rejects. His presence made scenes stand out even when the role was small. The public may have used his face as the main headline, but Berryman turned it into steady work. He understood what Hollywood wanted from him, then stayed in the business long enough to prove he was more than one shocking image. Donatella Versace. Donatella Versace took control of the Versace fashion house after her brother Gianni was killed in 1997. That alone put her under a level of pressure most designers never face. She was not only running a brand, she was carrying a family name, a public tragedy, and one of fashion's loudest identities. But for years, the conversation around Donatella often shifted from her work to her face. People talked about her lips, skin, hair, and possible cosmetic procedures, as if her appearance mattered more than the company she helped keep alive. Why do people judge powerful women harder when they start aging in public? Donatella's look became part of the Versace image: bold, blonde, sharp, and impossible to miss. Some mocked it. Others saw it as branding. Either way, she stayed visible while many critics kept reducing her to before and after photos. In 2025, Donatella stepped down as Versace's creative chief and moved into a chief brand ambassador role. After nearly 3 decades, the face people mocked was still one of the most recognizable names in fashion.